We talk a lot about how to sew a pattern here on my channel, so let's talk about how to actually cut out the pattern from fabric. Hey, my name is Courtney with Rooney Sewing Patterns. Today I'm going to show you the basics on cutting out a pattern. So a pattern is just a guide to the end result of a garment or an accessory, or really it could be for anything. On my shop we sell patterns for women and children, and we have a few accessories on there as well. So today I'm just going to show you how to take the first step, which is folding the fabric, making it ready to cut out your pattern. The basic tools you'll want are a ruler or a straight edge, your fabric, a great pair of scissors, pins, measuring tape, and a rotary tool is optional. First, cut out your pattern out of paper, or if you're printing it out online, go through the process of cutting it out and taping it together. You can see a tutorial for this on our channel that I'll link here. Make sure you're cutting out the correct size for your body measurements by measuring your body. When your fabric is super wrinkled, it can throw off your end result, so you'll want to iron your fabric beforehand. This is a step that I often like to skip, but I recommend not skipping it. You're going to examine your pattern pieces and put the pieces that have the fold line together, and then when you need to cut something that isn't on the fold, you can set that aside. You're going to first find your grain line of your fabric. This is the edge that is uncut and placed there by the manufacturer. So the grain line will show you the perfect lie of the fabric, where it will lay in a way that is going to drape very nicely on the contours of the body. So on your pattern pieces, you'll see this line, and you will always want to line this up parallel to the grain line. So what I like to do is fold my fabric to the width of the widest piece that I'm cutting that has a fold line. So I'm going to save fabric this way and fold my fabric wide enough to cover the pattern piece. I'm pinning all of my pattern pieces to the fabric, making sure it's parallel to the grain line. I'm cutting with fabric scissors here, and you can see that I'm going to line up the fabric scissors with the pattern piece. But here I'm going to not hold the fabric up in the air. I'm going to hold it with my left hand and then hold the scissors against the flat surface that I'm cutting on, and then go in long strokes with the scissors to go across the fabric and the pattern piece. So I'm making sure not to make short snips with the scissors. I'm using the widest part of the scissors and going the length of the scissors along the pattern. And this can go slow because you want to make sure you're not cutting too much of the fabric to waste it, and you want to go close to the pattern. Also, make sure that your pattern has the seam allowance included, and if it doesn't, you want to cut more around the pattern, leaving that seam allowance. So here I'm realizing that I could save a lot of fabric by refolding this. This is where I'm going to refold my fabric and see that there's a way to save fabric here and cut out the pieces again. I'm doing the same motions of cutting that I did earlier, and I'm refolding my fabric again to lay out my pieces that don't need to be cut on the fold. Make sure when you're cutting out your pattern, you're examining all of the notes on the pattern. Read through your pattern before you start cutting to make sure that you're not missing anything. You can see any marks like these triangles, and this will make notches to show you where to line up your pattern later in the sewing process. Another way to lay out your pattern is to fold your entire yardage of fabric in half, and then start laying out your pieces according to the fold, according to if it needs to be doubled over or if you just need one of the pattern piece. And this is a way to just make sure that everything is going to fit before you're cutting. If your pattern piece says you're going to cut on the bias, you'll first recognize this by the grain line. It will look like it's at a diagonal, but it's really just showing you how you're going to cut out your pattern piece on the 45-degree angle of your fabric. This is to make sure when you're sewing your fabric, it has this lay to it that allows it to contour and shape better. Usually this is used for necklines and other areas that have a curve to it. So you're going to cut at an angle and you can line up your grain line to the selvage edge, but this is called cutting on the bias. Hopefully this video was helpful for you and now you feel confident to take your next step with sewing the garment. So you can see all of our tutorial videos on our channel. I'll link them below. If you have any questions, I would love to help you out and walk through this together, so let me know below if you have any questions or want to see anything in a future video. I'll see you next Monday with a new video.